Welcome back. In the college game, Duke coach John Danowski, known as one of the greats, the winningest coach in Division I history, one of just two coaches with more than 400 career wins. In the international game, he's the coach of Team USA, in the middle of his second go-around as the U.S. men's national team head coach, after he led the team to gold during the 2018 World Championships, now looking for a second straight gold medal as he looks ahead to 2022. So we now have the head coach of the U.S. men's national team, John Danowski, on call here for U.S. Lacrosse. Coach, we're going to look back at that Fall Classic, which was quite an entertaining one on Friday night against Canada.
You know, one of the things that has been fascinating about, well, first of all, the games of the U.S. and Canada always seem to come down to a goal. But, when you're working, how important it is, for both teams to want to be successful. There's a tremendous competitiveness. But the fall was really interesting because the guys, I think, on both teams, they just didn't know who each other were. You got to give it to Team Canada, where they have a system in place offensively and defensively. So it's relatively seamless with their coaching staff. With our guys, we're bringing in a lot of new people. They're trying so hard to please the coaches and be coachable, and yet play the game. And so it's always a really interesting kind of exhibition, when you get this kind of chemistry together.
Well, you guys were able to start off well. You went up 1-0, and we're going to look back at that first, what led to that first goal. And Connor Kelly starts things, eventually not successful, but this play continues on and comes back to him.
Well, riding is a hallmark of just hustle. You don't have to be a great athlete, fast, strong. You just got to want to, you got to want to get the ball back. And, we always say you want to ride like your hair's on fire. And that's a big part of, that's a big part of any lacrosse game is, can you let go what happened and make the next play? Now, this play, Connor does a great job of looking through the defense, of recognizing the slide was coming from inside. And if you watch, right, they bluff a little bit. Well, this would go back to the beginning. So, you got three white shirts over there, riding with their hair on fire. And that's something that's always that you look for. And then that ball movement off the ground, as the defense is spread out, you want to move the ball quickly. And, you can see that the guys in red, they're over on the left-hand side of the field. And, actually, Connor was playing with his head up. He throws the ball through the defense and finds Rob Pinnell, on the far wing.
So we have another play that ends up in a good play for Connor Kelly, but looking at this, a lot of it spoke to the patience you have to have in the international game.
Right now, the college guys, now we're playing with a shot clock. The pro guys play with an incredibly quick shot clock, and now you're playing with no shot clock. And so, the danger is that, if you take hurried shots, you have turnovers, it might be a while before you see the ball back again. And so once John Hawes sends a nice pick, up top, close to the top of the box, and, little two-man game up top, and, guys got to play together. And it's hard for the defense to, to have all the calls and to play great team defense, when you haven't practiced. But, just real simple, two-man game and, playing off the pick.
Finally, I want to get to the game-tying goal. Walk me through with just over a minute to go.
Well, again, Team Canada trying to press out a little bit. They have the lead. But, guys had enough poise. You can see that they got the ball to the short stick, and everybody is kind of running away, creating some really good spacing. And once again, chemistry. Rob Pinnell, guys feel comfortable when Rob has the ball on his stick. Everybody can relax a little bit. And it's just a simple, it's just somebody making a play. There was no magic or science or scheme to this. It was just a catch and shoot. And, and those are plays that, in any game, on any level, Sometimes somebody just has to make a play. Their goalie was terrific, on that night, and he didn't let a lot past him. And this is one I'm sure maybe he would like back. But again, making a play.
And Will Manny's made a few of those plays over the course of his career in clutch moments. So let's move on to the portion of the on-call segment where you really are on call. We've got Instagram questions coming in to pick your brain on things. And we'll start with that 2022 World Championships. And this is from Gold Ellie. What factors and qualities are you looking for in a player as you build that team?
I think that what we learned in 2018, guys have to have great character. And at the end of the day, they got to really want to put being successful ahead of anything else, ahead of individual accomplishments, ahead of anything that has to do with individual talent. There's 100 guys that could make the team just based on talent, but you're looking for the right guys who make each other better, guys who complement one another, guys who can play more than one position. In 18, we had attackmen who could play midfield. We had middies who could play short stick D midfield if they needed to. We had LSMs who could play down low. We had Poles who could, play LSM. In a very short, in a 9-game tournament, a 9-day tournament, 7 games, with only 23 guys on the roster, a lot is required of those guys. And so, being versatile, but having great character, and being able to play with tremendous humility to accept whatever role, would be tossed their way, those are the guys that we're looking for to build a team in 22.
Obviously, you have your choice between a lot of great players for that U.S. national team. This next question probably tilting more toward just the number of players you see while trying to recruit for Duke, and it's from Nate Neal. What do you see in a great player that separates them from a good player?
I think there's a lot of factors. One factor that we particularly love is we call it athletic IQ. May not be lacrosse IQ, but athletic IQ. That comes from back in your junior high and high school days, and maybe even college days, where students play more than one sport. They play football, they play soccer, they play basketball, hockey, wrestle, and so the transitional skills, closing out. If you're a defensive back and you've got to close out, you got to close down a wide receiver on an out route. Well, that's going to transfer over to riding, or it's going to transfer over to playing defense, in the spring. If you're a basketball player and it's spacing or moving without the ball or rotating on defense, those are the messages that you're hearing, but also the subtle qualities of being a competitor, loving to compete, learning how to be a great teammate, learning to be coachable, listening to different coaches and different messages. So the first thing, we kind of look for is that athletic IQ. The second thing we look for, is we call it it. Does the player have it? And what is it? It could mean size. It could mean speed. It could mean, highly evolved skills. It could mean, but what separates them, when you watch them play from someone else? It could be a competitive desire, or a combination of all those things. But it's that athletic IQ, that it factor, and if you look at a lacrosse team, everybody looks different. There are tall guys, short guys, fast guys, guys who aren't so fast but highly skilled, strong guys, wiry. We don't look like a football team, when you kind of roll out, most teams, and that's a good thing.
Well, speaking of that team, in our next question, it deals with what we're dealing with right now. How are you maintaining contact and morale with your current team down there in Durham?
Well, one of the things that we, like everyone else, once we kind of got over the shock of what was happening, not just to our team, but to our fellow students, to our brothers and sisters at other schools and other places, and society, as a whole. Once we kind of get out of that shock, then we started having team Zoom meetings every day at 3 o'clock, which was our normal practice time. And it hit me really quickly after the first maybe 2 sessions that I better find some guest speakers because I can't keep these guys entertained for the next, couple of weeks. So it turned out to be a really positive experience. We had Danny Quinn, who was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, speak to the team. We did about a 15-minute, I'd ask him to speak about leadership in crisis. And he would talk about 15 minutes, and then we would do questions and answers. I had General Martin Dempsey, who was the former chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs under President Obama. We had Rear Admiral Jamie Sands, who was here at Hofstra for a year, at Hofstra, was here at Duke with a fellowship, and he was working his degree, for a year. And we met him a couple of years ago. And we had some former players on. We had businessmen. We had Mike Canalino, who's a neurosurgeon up at Harvard right now, who played for us. So every day we had either somebody from business, somebody from medicine, somebody from the sports world, talk to the guys about leadership. And it was really, really productive. The NCAA shut us down the last 2 weeks because they're treating this like we're in the off season. And so if you're a week before finals or during finals, we are not allowed to have any structured contact with our students. I disagree with the rule, but I don't want to break any rules. So, so be it. And we're going to try to restart the series once finals are over.
That's really cool. Finding a way to get the team feeling like there is some structure and continuity still to their day, right?
One of the things that, we realized that, the kids at home are bored. That school is, some of the professors certainly have lightened up, in terms of, they've dropped final exams or they've been given pass-fail options. And now you're taking away 3 hours of their day that, and dinner, dinner with the players and seeing each other socially and, just being together. Now that's been all taken away. Most of them have said that the meetings that we were having was the best part of their day. Plus, the questions that they got to ask were terrific. And, they got to meet some really, really wonderful people, during this exercise that they normally wouldn't have met. So we just tried to make a positive, out of a negative and to do the best we could with it.
All right, let's get you to your last question. It's from Billy Buckler, and this is, I guess, kind of a loaded one, but one probably a lot of people ask you throughout the year. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to get into coaching?
To me, coaching is a noble profession. My father was a coach, teacher and a coach. My brother was a history teacher and a coach, football and lacrosse. And so for me, it's one of the noblest of all, professions that you can have a tremendous impact. It's not like going to work every day. It's fun. Every season is different. Every day is different. Every practice is different. No 2 days are the same. There are challenges and hurdles to overcome and relationships, that are going to last the rest of your life. So first of all, anybody who's interested in coaching, I highly recommend it. For those, not be afraid to start at the bottom. Not be afraid. I coached middle school football, JV football, varsity football. I coached freshman football in college. I coached JV basketball. I coached middle school, junior high lacrosse, JV lacrosse. Don't be afraid to start. You don't know where when I was doing those things, I had no idea that I was going to be the head coach at Duke one day or the head coach of the U.S. national team. I love the time that I spent, with those young men at that time. So you never know where your path is going to lead. And if you read biographies of coaches, I think you'll find similar things. I met Dan Quinn when we were at Hofstra. We shared a locker room, and he was an assistant. He was an offensive line coach at Hofstra, who since dropped football, and he's now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think that Dan ever thought that was going to be his path. But once again, if you just enjoy what you're doing, you do it to the best of your ability. Who knows? Where it leads to. And And the people who coach at the junior high and the high school level, we always say that they're doing missionary. They're doing God's work. That's what I always aspired to be. I wanted to be a high school, a biology teacher and a head football coach and an assistant lacrosse coach. And again, you never know what path you're going to end up on.
That's some good advice and a good way to end. Coach, we appreciate all the time, and stay safe down there in North Carolina.
Well, thanks to everybody, and same to you guys. And when you need me back, I'm ready to go.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you.